But don't worry, I'll edit this chat bit out at the beginning, so that's not a problem. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready, okay. Hello everyone. As a continuation of the Empower You Energy Healing and Manifesting series, I bring you another wonderful interview. Today my special guest is a psychic, a channel, spiritual teacher, healer, has her own thriving weekly groups, an expansive YouTube channel with videos on upcoming world events, weekly card readings. She's a crystal expert, and I'm sure I've missed loads out and haven't even done her justice. I ask you to welcome Jenny Stanton, aka the Lightworker Lady from thelightworkerlady.com. Jenny, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Right, I'm dying to know personally some background about yourself, not least how you discovered you were psychic, when that came about, how that came about. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Over to you.
Okay, wow. God, what an introduction. That was, that was amazing. Thank you very much. Okay, so I first had my psychic experiences in childhood.
Right.
I didn't know that's what they were at all. I thought it was completely normal. I thought what I was seeing was completely normal. I thought everyone else saw it. So to me, nothing stood out as different. But then when I started to talk about it, I realized that actually it's quite different. So I probably around the age of 5 or 6 was when I first started to notice things and started talking to spirits. Didn't know it was spirits, had no idea, just carried on. And apparently I channeled as a child. Now, my parents didn't tell me this until, well, in fact, it was my dad that mentioned it, just casually mentioned it in conversation.
Dropped in at breakfast, yes.
When I was in my early 20s, I'm like, huh? But he didn't use the term channeling. He just said that they used to find me sat bolt upright in bed, talking, eyes wide open, and the things that I was talking about wasn't what you would expect a 5, 6, 7-year-old talking about. So I connected the dots then and thought, gosh, maybe I was channeling. Maybe I was working with my God. I don't know, you know.
Yes.
So for me, channeling was something that obviously I had no clue about. It was very, very kind of unconscious, I suppose. And then my life, I suppose I've had quite an interesting life, really. Well, some might not think it is. I do. I was very, very fortunate to follow my dreams quite young. And I decided age 15 I wanted to be an actor. I had no stage experience as a child. My parents weren't the kind of parents to take me to stage school or anything like that. I just felt a strong pull to it one day, and then I went to train to be an actor. And I did not do anything the way everybody else did it. Everyone churned out of college or high school and then went to university or drama school. And I remember saying to one of my mentors, I want to take the scenic route. I don't want to get on that conveyor belt stamp. You've been to so-and-so, now go find an agent. And that was not me. So I want to work. I want to go out in the world and work. And I got really lucky and went into street theatre, then touring theatre. And that was my love. I loved theatre. I travelled all over with my work. And I was so lucky. And to travel and see this beautiful country of ours, which we don't get to do we? Because we're too busy going abroad at such a young age. I was privileged to do it and getting paid for it too as well. Not much, because actors don't get paid. You get a bag of peanuts, off you go. But so that was kind of another life to me. So while all of that was going on, I still dabbled in the reading tarot and following my intuition and all of that kind of thing. And it really helped me with my work. There was a lot of synchronicities with roles that I was getting and all that kind of thing. And I just loved that. Whenever a synchronicity came up, I'm like, oh, wow. But I didn't focus too much on the psychic side of things because I was too distracted. So as life works and things come in and divine intervention, if you like, I then had my son and realized I don't want to act anymore. It's not me. It's a very selfish business. It's very vacuous. It's not who I am. And I hated the idea of being judged as well. It kind of bugged me a lot. And it was the most petty judging as well. When you're in that industry, it's, oh, this person was slimmer than you, so they got the part. This person can dance better than you, so they got the part. And it was all just, it wasn't me. It didn't resonate with my path anymore. So I concentrated on parenting, and then the psychic stuff started coming in really, really strongly. And I couldn't ignore it. In fact, while I was pregnant, it came back in because I was living in London at the time. And I started working for a company that were like a big events management company. And I was doing my kind of thing there. So I was doing palm readings, I was doing card readings, handbag readings, which is basically psychometry. And it was an amazing experience. And some of these places I was booked for were like big companies, big sign a non-disclosure agreement kind of thing. And it opened up a whole new world to me. But it still didn't quite fit who I was. So after my son was born, I did a bit more work, and then I moved back up north. Any work sort of dries out when you move back up north from London. So I had to sort of reevaluate things, and then very naturally started getting back into doing readings for people, and that still didn't feel enough. I enjoy doing readings, but I needed to do more. So I then decided to start my own spiritual development group. I've sat in many groups and had some amazing mentors over the years. And I thought, you know what, I want to do my own, because the thing about development groups is, especially if they're held within spiritualist churches, they're quite strict how they do things. And then the egos come in.
Clicking as well, and egos, yeah, that's right. Yes.
And I found that quite difficult. And I was very young as well. I was in my early 20s when I was sitting in groups like that. And I could see people who were much older than me and backstabbing and all that kind of thing. And I thought, this isn't spiritual. This isn't.
No, it kind of defeats the object, doesn't it? Yes.
Totally defeats the object. So what I did was I took all the wonderful things that was taught, and especially how to meditate. That was the first thing, because I didn't know how to meditate at all, and learning that was just the key to everything. And once I learned that, then I learned my own little techniques of how to do things. And it wasn't until I've been running my group for a while, 2015, November 2015, I came down with pneumonia.
Oh, right.
And that developed into pleurisy. And I had 12, 14 weeks I've been so sick I couldn't do anything. For me, this felt like almost like a cleansing. It was a horrible cleansing.
Yeah,
very unpleasant. I've never been so unwell in my life. I don't really get sick, so it was a massive shock to me. But what came out of the end of it was I'd had so many epiphanies during the worst days, the sweats and not being able to breathe properly and all of these things. But I learned so much from it. And it was like my awakening. Even though I was already deeply spiritual and deeply involved in teaching, there was a piece that was missing. And that was the piece. And through all of that trauma and the release, I felt like my heart chakra was blocked. And that release came when I had the pneumonia. It just developed into this. And it made sense because I'd had years of doing readings for people and not protecting my energy. And because I didn't really understand about that, I was a newbie to it. And, you don't think about those things. So I was taking, I'm an empath as well.
Yeah.
So I'm taking on everything from everyone and feeling it with them. And something had to give, and it did. And I have to say I'm grateful for that experience, even though it was not pleasant. It was something that I needed, that needed to come out in order for me to move forward. So when I came through all of that, I had two things that were very different. One was I suddenly had this ability to write meditations. Whereas before I was sticking to a strict formula of what I had learnt in groups, just the general techniques, nothing deep and, meaningful. I suppose the salt and pepper, of meditation, and not anything deeper than that. Suddenly, come January, I'm sat and I'm writing. I'm writing like a crazy woman, just page after page after page of guided meditations.
So who do you, sorry to interrupt, who do you think this guidance is coming from? Do you think it's a spirit guide or just God, or what?
Well, my guide, I've known my guide since I as far back as I can remember, and he's always been with me.
Right.
It took me a long time to work out his name. He kept telling me his name, leaving very obvious clues everywhere I went, and I completely ignored them until one day they were put right in front of me for when I woke up. And it was the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes. I'm like, that's your name? Oh my gosh, that's your name. And it was like, oh, wow, I'm so sorry it's taken me forever to work that out. But he's been with me through everything. But I do believe that it was more than just my guide that came in at that point. I think when I'd had the pneumonia and everything cleared, it was like a door opened and so many came in to assist me. And I know that a healer guide came in as well. And I was just able to connect. And I feel like when I write, I'm channeling as I write. Because I do a lot of guided meditations with angels, archangels. And I do feel like they're right with me and I'm channeling them as I'm writing. And it's like poetry to me. And I adore it. It's my creative thing that I do and that I'm very, very proud of. And they've helped so many people. The feedback that I get from people doing my meditations is incredible. And it's, I have to thank them because they're the ones giving me what they're giving me, that inspiration. And it's just me putting it, pen to paper and then recording it if I can.
So I've also sat in development circles in churches and home groups over the years as well. And my question to you is one I've pondered myself over the years. Do you believe that mediums and psychics are born, or can they be made? What's your thoughts on that?
I think everyone has that ability, but I think some people close that door,
yes,
bolt it, put a sofa up against it, and don't let anything open that door because they're absolutely in fear of it. I know so many people who have a natural ability which shines through them and they're petrified. And they say, oh, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to know about that. No. And I think everyone has this. Exactly. No. But everyone has this ability. And it's whether you want to tap into it or not. Now, I found this with my groups. I've had people from all walks of life come in to my group. They don't stay. They come and they go. And it's quite open as my group. So I don't close it. So it's only certain people in. I'm really open to new people coming in. And, some people only need to come for a short time. Some people are still with me to this day, even, after 3 years. But they all different walks of life. Teachers, truck drivers, you name it. I've had so many different people in and they've all benefited from it for totally different things. At some, they're just there for the meditation and they're there to relax and have all of the amazing benefits, physical benefits of meditation, like lowering the blood pressure and clearing the mind. Yeah. And that's all they need, and that's perfect for me. I don't need to push them any further on what they want to do on their journey. That's fine. Some come in because they really do feel connected and they want to develop. So we go a different road with them, but it works. Everyone can still be in the same group and learn at their own pace without feeling pressured that that person knows more than me and I don't know what they're talking about. And everyone's really supportive as well. And also being able to be in this amazing space that I'm so lucky to have. We, as you know, we do the absent healing as well every Friday, which is so important. It's such an integral part of what I do, and being able to offer that to people and hear the feedback. I've had some amazing feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. Love it.
So in terms of personal development, your own personal development, what would you say has been your theme, your biggest challenge over the years? That's something that you feel like you've maybe conquered, and then it seems to come out again. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I do have a theme, I guess. For me, it's like sudden traumatic experience that came from out of nowhere.
Right.
And how do I deal with this? And the first time I was tested was 6 weeks after I got married. My husband had to suddenly leave the country. He is American, and he only works on a visa when he has a contract in the UK.
Right.
And they lost the contract and he had to go. And it was like, you're out of the country, that's it. And it's that quick. And we've been married for 6 weeks. We had just put down a deposit to move to where we are now. And it was like, oh my God, what do we do? And I'm like, well, we can't make ourselves homeless. We have to live somewhere. And he said, look, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go stateside. I have to go. And he said, there's an interview for a job. I'll fly. I'll get the interview. And the interview was for a job that would mean he was out in Afghanistan for X amount of time. And it was either that or we don't pay the rent and we end up homeless. So I was just absolutely in shock. I didn't know what to do. We moved into this house, and literally 2 days later, after he'd hooked up the internet for me and plugged in the TV, I was left with my 3-year-old son in a house full of boxes and no husband. And my husband on his way out to train, to get a job, which he got. And then he trained and went out to Afghan. I think it was nearly 6 months later that he actually deployed. But in that time, I went into complete shock.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was just so much to take in all at once. And I'd only had six weeks of marriage. So it was just like, I've just lost my husband. And I had to learn how to do everything. I had to, simple, silly things like, paying bills and setting up direct debits, because I was a touring actor. I never had to do any of that before.
No, that's right.
Suitcase. So all of this to me, and even stopping to have my son, I was always with someone who paid the bills and did all of that kind of stuff. So I didn't have those kind of responsibilities. I had to learn quick. And I also had to find a way to remain calm at all times, because I had a little boy who needed me. So it was coping and dealing with, okay, why is this happening? And in the beginning, it was, why is this happening to me? Why is the universe doing this to me? What did I do wrong? All of those same, this is me, is this my fault? Blame, blame, blame. And I couldn't get to a place of positivity. And I had so much bitterness and rage built up inside of me because I couldn't believe what a poor hand we'd been dealt, that it manifested into illness. And I ended up losing, I had a cyst on my ovary, and I believe I completely manifested that with pure stress and anger and everything else.
And stuff, yeah, I can imagine though. It's understandable you had those emotions. It is understandable.
Yeah, but I couldn't control it. I couldn't control it. Even with everything I knew and being a spiritual person, I couldn't control it. At the time, I wasn't meditating. I wasn't running my group at that time because we just moved here. And I just didn't know how to handle things. And time went on. Now, if someone had told me at the time, you're going to have to go on this ride, it's not going to be nice, a lot's going to happen, and you'll be together again in 5 years, I would have lost my mind. And 5 years. So after being married for 6 weeks, we were apart for 5 years, and he only came back every 6 months for 2 weeks. So I went through losing my ovary, followed by a blood clot. I had a post-op pulmonary embolism. So I had to have 6 months of rat poison to thin my blood. And then I was told, don't expect to have any children. You probably won't have any children. And then 6 months later, he came home for his 2 weeks, 2 weeks holiday. And by the end of that 2 weeks, I was actually pregnant with our daughter. So that was a nice thing to come out of it. And then the not nice thing was he then had to go back to Afghan. And I said, stay there for longer than 6 months and be here for the birth. And so I went through an entire pregnancy with him in a war zone, having mortars fired over his base and all of this stuff. And I'm like, please get another job. So we had that. And then he ended up, after our daughter was born, he went to Germany, where he stayed for another 2.5 years. So 2.5 years in Afghan, 2.5 years in Germany. And I had to learn to cope, because then I had 2 children to deal with. And my son's autism diagnosis came out, and it was like boom, 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 one thing after another. And I felt, okay, this is a test. This is a test, how I get through this test. And I think I stumbled through it. I really do. I think I just crawled through it. But when I got to the end of it, and he finally got to come back to the UK, by the way, we're still not living together. He's down south. He comes home at weekends. I only see him at weekends. But that's better than a war zone. Yes. So I'm not complaining. But that was, I got to the end of it and I thought, I am a different person. I'm completely different.
Yeah, transformed a bit. Yes.
Yeah, completely transformed. And yes, I went through the pneumonia, but I mean, come on. It was the same year he came back. It was 6 months after he came back. Then I got the pneumonia, and it's not really a surprise, is it? It's all that emotion, all years of doing readings for people, and years of this, this trauma of my husband being somewhere he shouldn't be, and so that, it came out. Now, last June, as you will remember, and last July, my daughter broke her leg.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Surgery, and I thought, I'm going to fall apart. I can't deal with this. And do you know what? I handled it better than I could have ever imagined. I smiled through it, and I felt joy. Bizarre, but I felt joy, because I thought, I can get through anything. We can get through anything. We're so strong.
Yes, absolutely.
And we did. And you know what? It wasn't even an unpleasant experience living in a hospital for weeks on end, because I was giving off an energy that was of love and joy and appreciation for my daughter being so well looked after. And I was getting all of that back.
Yes.
And she went so quick. So.
Yeah, it's true to say those who serve are also served as well. And just wondering, for those watching this interview at home from our group, do you have any tips or techniques on how to deal with overwhelm or stress, with being in shock, I guess, or trauma? Do you have any other tips or techniques? I know you mentioned meditation before.
Meditation helps with so many things. And yeah, if I had thought about it and had that tool at the time,
yes,
I remembered, come on, you used to sit in groups, you know how to do this, I would have probably helped myself a lot more. It helped last year.
Yes.
And in fact, I was writing in my hospital bed, next to my daughter's hospital bed, writing guided meditations. So that did help me through that situation. And also, understanding energy will help you through situations. And watching how you word things. Because if I'd known that when my husband was away, I would not have spoken in such negative tones all the time. But last year, I used positive language. I tried to distance my daughter. You know, like you were talking about how if you take ownership of an illness, you're attaching that energy to you.
Yes, yes.
And I really wanted to do that with her and me, to not take ownership of that. It's just a thing. It's not going to be there forever. It's a temporary thing. We're going to learn from it, and it's not going to happen again. And the more we were able to detach from it, the easier it was, and it was a smoother journey to get through it. And the more we laughed through it. So try and find, now if you're having a really dark day, I use this a lot. If I'm having a really, really dark day, I make myself watch comedy. I do not watch the news. I don't watch the news anyway. I don't like lies, so I don't watch the news. But I will find a comedian, stand-up comedian that really makes me laugh. And I will just watch comedy until I am properly laughing and forgetting about all those things that were worrying me, and I've released that stress, and then I'm happy. I can cope with things better. It's finding things. Sometimes people's comfort zone is to remain in that miserable state, and that was my comfort zone too when my husband was away, and I didn't even realize it. But now I see it. It's daring yourself to move out of that comfort zone and think about, okay, this isn't going to last forever. This feeling isn't going to last forever. And I really don't think on my deathbed I'm even going to be considering this situation. So I need to focus on more positive things. And look, life isn't hearts and flowers. We know that. You can't all be love and light and positivity and do as much as you want to be, because we're human beings and we have to feel everything. In order to live in duality, we have to feel everything, light and dark. And that makes us who we are. But if we focus more on one than the other, then we're not being balanced and we're not being true to ourselves. It's the same as if we're all, everything's wonderful all the time and just positive, positive, positive. You're going to get one hell of a shock when life gets in the way. But in the same sense, if you're all doom and gloom and like Eeyore all the time, then, you know, you're going to attract that. And also, and when something wonderful comes along, you won't even notice it because you're too busy in the misery.
Yeah, that's true. It's about being a conscious observer, isn't it? So realising you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not in your body. So once you detach and observe those things,
yeah,
it immediately makes space to heal from your awareness, to release, to let go, to allow new creative ideas to grow, to expand. Yeah, so yeah, that's really useful, really useful advice. Thank you for that. Do you have any final thoughts before we sort of wrap this interview up? Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I did bring, and you probably saw this on my other interview, but I brought it anyway to show you. I brought a few show and tell bits. So, orgone energy, I'm a bit obsessed with orgone. Well, I'm obsessed with pyramids, as you know.
Yes.
But when I discovered orgone energy, I was like, okay, I need to get some of this, because the other thing that I was doing while my husband was away, I was frying electronics.
Oh, right.
I'm so distressed. I fried 2 Mac hard drives in 18 months.
Wow.
That's almost impossible. The guy, when I went to get it fixed again, he's like, what are you doing? These things, they can't break that easily. But I fried 2 in 18 months. And I fried 2 mobile phones as well. So somebody said, I can't deal with this anymore. Why is my energy doing this? And this guy said to me, have you heard of orgones? And I'm like, no. And then he sent me a load of details and I'm like, okay. So I got one and I got some more and some more and some more. And I started to feel a difference. I stopped frying stuff and I actually started to feel more positive, and my house energy lifted and I felt more positive. And everyone felt more positive when they were around the house. And now I have one attached to my phone, to my laptop. I have an orgone where there's electronics, because protects you.
Oh, right, that's interesting, yes.
Yeah, from electromagnetic pulse. So I swear by these, and I'm always recommending them to everybody. Get them and get one and put it by your bed, because you'll have the best sleep. If you suffer with insomnia, organs are fantastic, especially organs with white howlite inside.
Got to write that down, yeah.
Yeah, because howlite is the crystal that will help you sleep and release stress and anxiety. So if you can, and they're relatively cheap to buy as well. There's loads of organ makers. There's a lovely lady that I deal with in Wales now, and she in fact that was the one that I've held up that she makes, and she makes them to order. So you could just message her and say, okay, I need an organ that will help me with this issue and that issue, and she'll just put one together for you. Amazing. So there's that. And the other thing, we were touching on energy.
Yes.
Gosh, you are going to have to edit this interview down. I waffle. I told you I waffle so much. So I did the rice experiment.
Yes.
Based on Masaru Emoto's water experiment. You know about that, don't you? When he throws water with different words on it. So you can do the same thing with rice. And I did this experiment back in February for my children, really, and for the people who come to my group, because I wanted them to see how powerful words are. Look, we're nearly 70% water. So let's see how powerful words are on water-based things. Okay, so you could do it with rice. So I did it. I did all science in it. I did science. So I cooked some rice and I put them into 3 different pots. A control pot, which I have here. I'm going to put it up to the camera so you can see. I kept it. I'm so disgusting. I kept it. I ain't throwing this away. This is too good. So it's got nothing written on it. This is just what you would expect rice to do after you've cooked it and left it in a sealed jar for 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I did this over 2 months, and it was still really, really strong results, but it's continued because I haven't thrown them away because I'm horrible. So then I did one that said, I hate you.
Yes, that looks kind of gross to say the least.
It is revolting. It kind of looks, I think it's because of the light in the room, it looks lighter than it actually is.
Yeah, it looks dark there. It looks really brown and disgusting.
Yeah, it's so sludgy and horrible. And although the rice is joined together, it's kind of very clearly separated as well. Can you see that?
Yeah.
You can see the grains of rice. So they're together, but they're not together. Okay? So then we've got, I love you.
That looks surprisingly nice and white still, doesn't it? It looks...
It's like rice pudding. It's really weird. It's very, very watery. And look, I put the exact same rice in each pot. There was no difference. At the same volume, everything. And it's become so watery. Lately, the rice has sort of risen up to cover the eye part. It's come right up the side, which is interesting. Considering it's sat like that and not upside down, that's very bizarre. But what I found is it's joined together and it's become watery. But it's unified. Do you see what I mean? It's like they become like one.
Yeah.
And emotions are, like water signs are very emotional, and water represents emotions. So I just found that very interesting. The hate one, they're together in hate, but they're separate at the same time. And the love one, it's like, it's just become one thing.
Yes, yeah.
Pure, it's pure.
Yeah.
Trying to explain that to people and show them, and I know it's kind of horrible to have kept them for so long. The guy that edits my videos went, you need to do the experiment at least 3 more times. He's so cynical. He's like, do the experiment 3 more times. I'm like, fine, I will. Because he's not convinced by anything at all. But I mean, I had no reason to tamper with it. I wouldn't do that. It's just pointless. I wanted to see for myself because I found it fascinating. And just seeing that, and I mean, it's still white. The other one that has nothing written on it is covered in mold, and it's dry as well. That's the other thing. Look, it's dry.
Yes.
It's really dry. It's incredible. And that is what we do to our 70% water bodies. When we speak in negative tones, in negative terms, in terms of illness, I'm so sick, I feel so depressed, my fibromyalgia is flaring up, I hate, blah, blah. Or you're doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
When you speak in terms of love,
yes.
you know?
Yeah, that's a beautiful share, very poignant and tangible evidence. Look, I seen you make the video at the time, and I seen you put all regular amounts in from the same pot on the same day, same time, even as your children helping you along the way. Yes, that's awesome. You're going to hate me for this. And going off on a tangent slightly, a little bird tells me that you're a great mimic. And
oh God! Oh God!
I don't know, putting you on the spot, but it's had a big turn. I don't know if you're up for giving us
challenge me.
Sorry,
I might regret this. Go on then.
I don't know who can you do.
Oh God. Well, it's not necessarily who I can do. I can mimic people's accents quite well.
Can you do a Scouse accent?
Oh my God. See, the problem with doing a Scouse accent is that every time I talk in a Scouse accent, I just want to swear all the time. So
that's awesome.
I don't want to lower the tone, but no, I do. And I'm the same when I do a Geordie accent. I'm like I'm on Geordie Shore, so I don't want to do that. Sorry.
No, that was awesome, excellent. I'd love to hear your Geordie accent.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to be sworn out? Give me something to say, and I'll try and say it in a Geordie accent.
See, you're going down the town to play and watch some football.
God. I'm going down the town to watch some football. My favourite player is Peter Beardsley. But don't get me into a fucking fight, because I'll knock your fucking head off. Sorry.
Right, awesome. No, that's great. I was looking forward to asking you to do some impersonations, and you've certainly stepped up to the mantle. That was awesome. Anyway, getting back on point, for those watching at home, if you've gotten some value out of this video, you've enjoyed it, please show Jenny some love, hit the like button, hit the love button. And if viewers at home want to connect with you, you've got various things going on, how can they connect with you, and they might want to work with you, find out more about your work?
Well, you can certainly go to my website, thelightworkerlady.com, and contact me there. I think it just goes straight to my email address. It's all linked up. Please sign up for my newsletter. I do a monthly newsletter. I don't spam people. I hate that. So I just write, I haven't written it for this month. I will do. That's my job this week. I always give you sort of a heads up with what's going on planetary wise, with what to expect with the moon cycles, and the different energies coming in. And so yes, please sign up for that. And I have a Facebook group, The Lightworker Lady, and I have a Facebook page, The Lightworker Lady. And you can also catch me on YouTube, Lightworker Lady. I don't know what YouTube are doing with my channel at the moment. It's a little bit strange, but they're freezing it up a bit. So yeah, they do that. They freeze so you don't know who's watched your videos, and you're like, oh, okay, thanks YouTube. They do that sometimes. I don't know why. A lot of people complain of that, so I'm a bit cross with YouTube at the moment, but I'm still getting messages from people through YouTube, so you can contact me that way as well. Please subscribe to my channel. I put lots of guided meditations on my channel.
You've got an awesome channel, yes.
Thank you. And I do spiritual development videos as well, and I do weekly forecasts using my card decks that I have as well. So
awesome, yes. I always watch yours, yes.
Thank you very much. So I feel like I've gone off on a complete waffly tangent. I did warn you, I do that.
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed connecting with you, Jenny, and I'm sure others watching when this is released will also enjoy it on lots of levels. It's been very informative, enlightening, entertaining, all of the above.
Thank you.
So I think with that, I think we'll say goodbye. Thank you, Jenny, for joining us. Thank you for watching at home. And we'll speak soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.